Hello and welcome to the Lowellian. My name is Cody Ledoux, and joining me today is Senator Ed Kennedy. Senator, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much for inviting me here, Cody. It's a pleasure to be on your show, and I think this is going to be a great series going forward, so I'm happy to be part of it.
It's certainly a pleasure to have you here. Wasting no time and jumping right into things, I just want to ask the initial question of what is the job of a state senator?
So the General Court, which is the legislative body for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, is bicameral. So there's a House of Representatives that consists of 160 members. I serve in the state Senate, which is 40 members, just a quarter of what there is in the House of Representatives. And I represent about 175,000 people that live in Lowell, Drake, Tingsboro, Dunstable, and Pepperell.
So with that, can you take us through the day of what the day in the life looks like for you?
Well, day in the life, probably every day is a little bit different and a little bit the same. Commonly on Thursdays, for instance, I would, in the morning, I would be answering emails and phone calls, and then I would head into the State House where I would be there for however much time the Senate was in session. And then in the evening, I would return to Lowell or someplace in the district and and maybe be at different events. One of the things that we do is, I live in Lowell, but we do office hours in each of the 4 towns. Every 2 months, we meet we set up office hours at the public libraries in the evening, so it's convenient for people if they want to talk to me directly rather than through my staff or on the phone.
How do you connect with the community? And kind of in addendum to that as well is, what are some of the policies that you've been a part of that you feel really proud about?
I connect to my constituents really through the media, and also like we've got a Facebook account that kind of tells everybody what I'm doing from day to day, and then we have a monthly newsletter that comes out as well. And those are the primary ways that I do that. I also have a TV show here at LTC called the Beacon Hill Buzz. I'll put in a plug now. And we'll have different guests on from in state government that just talk about what their agencies do and how they can help people of the Commonwealth. It's meant to be educational and informative for people.
If you could speak on some of the policies that you've been a part of that you've been really proud to help put in place.
Well, there's probably several, but I think maybe the one that's most outstanding would be the Student Opportunity Act, which increased funding for schools. Particularly schools like the Lowell school, so that would be one. The Fair Share Amendment also is one that I think is really good, and the Commonwealth passed that just last year, and so that's another good one that I'm proud of. And there's various other smaller bills that don't have the impact that those 2 bills had. That I'm also happy about. I know I filed legislation in this session to Lowell's building a new high school, and in building the new high school, they had a deficit of about $38 million. So I was able to, I filed legislation asking that that money be paid, and it ended up being incorporated into the budget, and so Lowell should get a little more than $33 million out of the 38 reimbursed, and also Tingsboro, which was building a school at the time, should get a 4.1. And Dunstable, which is tied in with Groton, should get a little over $5 million for their project. So that that's a big deal for those communities, whether it be Lowell at $33 million or the smaller amounts. That money is very important to those communities going forward. So I was happy to be able to do that.
Sounds like a very impactful amounts of money to be able to give to those schools.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. What is it like representing a large, diverse community, that being Lowell, that can often have very different opinions on matters?
It's been enjoyable and enlightening for me, I guess, in some ways, in that, I as I said, I live in Lowell. I used to serve on the Lowell City Council, and I was actually mayor for 2 years. But, and there's only one farm in Lowell. But in the towns that I serve in, there's many farms. So I've had to get more involved in agriculture and those types of issues than maybe I would have if my district was different. I think that my district is pretty heterogeneous in that, I've got urban areas, I've got suburban areas and rural areas in my district. So, and I'm happy about that. I think it's good, and I try to pay attention to all three sectors.
Do you travel a lot for the job? And how do local politics differ from state politics in that way?
I don't really travel a lot for the job, which is okay with me. I did go to Greece last year, but that was really not I went as a state senator, but really that was a trip that was organized by the Greek Federation and the city of Lowell. It was a sister city trip that lasted about a week, but that's kind of the limit of my travel. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Oh, yes. So yeah, the second part of the question was just how do local politics differ from state politics?
State politics, every session, and the sessions are 2 years long. So you would get elected, and then you'd serve a 2-year session. And in that two-year session, the 160 state representatives and the 40 state senators would file more than 8,000 bills. Wow. And all of those bills basically are meant to amend the existing laws or make new laws in the Commonwealth. And by and large, although there are things that just affect local communities, by and large, most of the stuff that you do is affects the entire Commonwealth. In state government, the legislature, which would be the city council, they don't really make laws. Once in a while, I suppose, there may be a change to a city ordinance or something like that. But aside from that, most of the ordinances or most of the motions that are made by the city council would be to, put a stop sign up at the corner of Andover Street and Nesmith Street, for instance, which doesn't need a stop sign because it's got a set of lights. But just as an example, that would be one. But that's not making a law. That's just, presenting an idea of how to make the city a little safer, a little better.
Of course. Okay. So switching gears here a bit with the questions, shifting over from the kind of more political aspects of your day-to-day in your life to some of the more personal. So I was wondering if you could tell us just a bit about your personal journey and how you came to find yourself placing your roots down here in Lowell.
Well, I had nothing to do with placing my roots in Lowell. It was my parents, really. I was born in Lowell. My parents were both born in Lowell, and my grandparents were all born in Lowell. So, in order to go back to people that immigrated from Europe, you'd have to go back to my great-grandparents. So I've lived in Lowell my entire life, and I expect to be there for the rest of my life. And the way I got interested in politics, I guess, was when I was young, I used to watch the news with my father and talk about politics. I also had a paper route, so I read the paper every single day. And also, I grew up at a time when there were a lot of social issues going on, like the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, the Vietnam War, and even local issues in the Commonwealth that would be on the news every single night. I mean, the Vietnam War was on the news every single night when I was a kid growing up. And so I would watch that and have discussions with my father about it. And I think that's probably how I became interested in politics to begin with. And then in 1975, when I was 24, I ran for city council in Lowell and lost. I ran again in 2 years later when I was 26, and I got elected by one vote. So I don't remember how many votes I got, but it was probably about 9,500, 9,600. But the guy who finished in 10th place, was just one vote behind me, so I ended up having to do a recount. But during that first term, it was pretty exciting. I was on the city council just for a few months, and all of a sudden I'm flying to Washington, D.C. to testify before Congress on the national park. So I did that 2 times, once before a House committee and then a second time, maybe a couple of months later, before a Senate committee. So when I first came on the city council, the taxes were very high. There wasn't a lot going on in the city. But the national park, I think, had a big impact, and we got $40 million, which back then was like a lot of money to get for a national park. So that's what we got initially for the national park. But almost concurrent with that was a UDAG grant, a $5 million UDAG grant that the city got, which allowed the city to help pay for economic industrial development at zero interest. And we were able to offer that to Wang Labs at the time, and that's how the first Crosspoint Tower got built, was and probably why Wang went to Lowell rather than any place else is because they were able to avail themselves of that $5 million grant. And that changed the city around a lot back then, because at one point Wang was in their heyday. There were 10,000 people in Lowell that worked for Wang, 25,000 people in Greater Lowell that worked for Wang. So it had a big economic impact. And the national park, I think, has made a difference in the downtown. But the downtown is very, very important to the city.
A lot of great information there. So you touched on it a little bit, but I was wondering if you could go into a bit more detail on how you've seen Lowell evolve over the years.
Well, again, taxes were high. There wasn't a lot going on. There were a lot of storefronts boarded up in downtown back at the time. When we got the national park, that helped change things around. And I think Lowell became more vibrant. But there's been ups and downs. It's been a roller coaster ride. But the central business district, the downtown area, is important because they pay at a tax rate that's twice what residents pay. So in order to keep taxes down, local taxes down in Lowell, it's important that the downtown area and other industrial and commercial areas in the city do as well as they can. So whatever we can do to promote those, it ends up being a good thing, because ultimately it saves the taxpayer money.
All right, my next question for you is simply, what is your favorite part of the job?
I guess my favorite part of the job is probably constituent services. We get people that call the Senate office all the time with different issues that they have. Maybe they're having trouble connecting with their state agency, or they're not, or something like that. And when they call us, I've told my staff, when they call us, we're not the first call, we're the last call. So that they've just had it. And so it's just a last-ditch effort. And so whenever we can, make things happen, and usually we can, I think, that's something that everybody, not just me, but I think everybody in my office feels good about. And also there's certain votes that I make. I've got a person in my office who has 5 cats. And yesterday we made it against the law to declaw cats, which is kind of a little thing, but if you're a cat lover, that's a big deal. Wow. So there's stuff like that's also done, that's important, that maybe people don't pay a lot of attention to, but if you have cats, you probably do.
Of course. And then I guess stepping outside the office, what are some of the things that you like to do for fun?
Well, some of the things that I used to like to do for fun were skiing, and also hiking. And backpacking, although I haven't done backpacking in a long time. But I spend a lot of time too. I've got 3 grandkids. 2 of them live in Chelmsford. One of them lives in York, Maine. And so, I spend a lot of time going to their sporting events and watching them do different things. And that gives me a lot of enjoyment. They're at an age where they think I'm a great guy. After they get to be teenagers, I'm not sure that they'll want to spend that much time with me. It's just, that's a pretty normal thing. But so that's pretty rich time for me right now.
Absolutely. So we're going to transition into a couple of closing questions, starting off with how would you like to see Lowell grow and change in the future?
I think when I was on the city council, one of the things that I was very interested in was the Hamilton Canal District, which I was able to put a motion, and we changed it to the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. I think that it's really important that we try to develop that with life science buildings if we can. As you know, or maybe you don't know, but the university has a good presence there. But going forward, I think that's that's one of the things that I'd like to see develop, and I think that would help the downtown a lot if we can do that. One of the things that we will be doing in the spring is lighting up the swamp locks, which are over in the Hamilton Canal Innovation District. When I was the mayor, we lit them up just one night, just to see what it would be like, and people were very, very impressed with the way it looked. And so that would really dress up that whole area in the evening, I think, and make a big difference. So I'm looking forward to that.
What advice do you have for young Lowellians who are interested in running for office one day?
People ask me this a lot. I think that the best way is to get involved in other campaigns, and I think you learn a lot about politics and the issues by doing that. So if you're interested in politics and you can find a candidate that you're interested in, and it doesn't have to be somebody running for president. It can be someone running for city council or even school committee. But somebody that you believe in and follow, I think that will help to give you an education in politics and also, help you decide whether or not you want to keep on follow that track. I have 2 children. Neither one of them is interested in following that track at all, which I can understand. It's not for everybody, but it's enjoyable for me. I think one of the things that I would point out was when I was first elected to the city council, I served with people that were much older than me, and there was a time, for instance, when I had made a motion, and during the discussion on the motion, I realized that maybe the motion wasn't as well thought out as it should have been, and so I asked to withdraw the motion, and then the city councilor who seconded the motion said, "Well, you can't withdraw the motion without my permission because that's Robert's rules." So it made me realize that, and a lot of other things made me realize how important Robert's rules are, and so it's stuff like that you learn. I think is along the way just helps you a lot, and I think that's helped me. I really think that some of the people that I served with back then, although they were for the most part in a different generation from me, I learned a lot from them. That maybe I didn't appreciate as much at the time as I do now.
Okay. And you mentioned, I believe it was Robert rules, you said?
Robert's rules.
Robert's rules. That's a term that I'm personally unfamiliar with. Is that something you'd be able to give a brief explanation of?
Sure. I mean, you can get a book on Robert's rules that's 400 pages, or you can get one, Robert's rules for dummies or something that would maybe be 25 pages. But basically, Robert's rules they are the rules that you go by to conduct a meeting. So it tells you, how you make a motion, how you can withdraw a motion, how many motions can be on the floor at the same time, all of that type of thing. And Robert's rules are meant to, they do 2 things, basically. It makes it be that the meeting will be orderly and organized without, turning into chaos. But the second thing that it does is it protects minorities. So the minority position, if you're on the city council with 9 people or 11 people now, and there's 3 or 4 people that hold the minority position, at least their voice will be heard. Doesn't mean they're going to win the vote, but they won't be silenced because of Robert's rules. So I think Robert's rules is a good thing, and I really think that for local elected officials, local legislators, the city councilors, and so forth, or anybody that serves on a board. If you have a grasp of Robert's rules, at least a basic grasp of it, I think it serves you well. And if you're the only one on the board that knows Robert's rules, that gives you extra power.
It's fascinating. So how can Lowellians connect with you and learn more about your work?
Well, as I said a little earlier, I think the way to connect with me is, you can call me either at home or in the office. But also at emails. I get emails all the time. I'll wake up sometimes and have 50 or 60 emails almost every single day. Not all of them are on subject matter that I'm interested in, but nevertheless, they still keep on coming. So that's a way, but also, too, you can connect with me through Facebook, because we have a Facebook account that we keep pretty current. And then we've also got a monthly newsletter. So those are the ways probably or go to one of the libraries when we hold office hours in those libraries in the towns. That's another great way to do it. And sometimes we'll show up at the library and there might be nobody there or just 1 or 2 people there. But there's been other times when there's been a small crowd of people waiting for to talk about an issue or something that's going on locally.
A lot of great ways to get in touch with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's great. And the final question here is there anything that you would like folks at home to know or just to think about more, on any range of topics?
Nothing in particular. I think it would be good. I think everybody should vote, and everybody doesn't vote. But it would be good if they do. It doesn't take that much time, and I really think that that's important on every level. And what you find, I think, now is that there'll be a lot of people that will vote in November in the presidential election. When the gubernatorial election is held 2 years later, 2 years from now, it'll be smaller. And local elections sometimes have just 7% turnout, which is awful when you consider that in many ways, local government has a bigger impact on your life than state or federal government. So I guess, the message I would want to give today is register to vote, get out. It's easy to register to vote now, so easy. You can even do it online and just get out and vote. You'll feel better about yourself after you vote, and it gives you a right to complain that you don't have if you don't vote.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with me. So my name is Cody, and we've been speaking with Senator Ed Kennedy for the LTC's The Lowellian. Thank you so much for watching.